The haunting of the car parking basement. Sara had always been wary of parking basements, but she never imagined encountering the horror that awaited her in the depths of one fateful night. As the clock struck midnight, she found herself reluctantly stepping into the dimly lit abyss of the car parking basement. The air felt heavy and suffocating, as if the space itself held a dark secret. The flickering fluorescent lights emitted a sickly yellow glow, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move and writhe on their own. Sara's heart raced, her senses on high alert, as she made her way through the labyrinthine rows of parked vehicles. The sound of her footsteps echoed ominously, amplified by the silence that enveloped the basement. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, a cold sensation crawling up her spine. Her breath caught in her throat when she noticed a figure standing in the distance, obscured by the shadows. It appeared human, yet something about its presence sent a shiver down her spine. Pushing aside her fear, Sara quickened her pace, desperate to reach the safety of her car. But as she did, the lights above her flickered and then abruptly went out, leaving her in utter darkness. Panic washed over her like a tidal wave, her heart pounding in her chest. She fumbled for her phone, trembling fingers struggling to unlock its feeble glow. In the pale illumination of her phone, Sara frantically scanned her surroundings, her senses heightened. A chilling breeze swept past her, carrying with it an otherworldly whisper that sent a chill down her spine. Leave this place," the voice seemed to hiss, barely audible yet hauntingly clear. Determined to escape the malevolent presence, Sara pressed on, her footsteps echoing loudly in the oppressive silence. But then, a car alarm suddenly blared, breaking the silence with its jarring wail. The sound was deafening, disorienting her and making her nerves fray. Panic consumed her as she desperately searched for the source, her heart pounding in her ears. Just as abruptly as it had started, the car alarm ceased. Sara stood frozen, her breath hitched in her throat. And then, the sound of distant laughter echoed through the basement, chilling her to the core. It was a haunting, mocking laughter that seemed to come from all directions, as if the very walls were taunting her. The once empty spaces around her seemed to come alive with unseen specters, whispering in hushed voices that sent icy tendrils of fear snaking through her veins. Shadows danced and twisted, taking grotesque shapes that warped her perception of reality. Unseen hands grazed her skin, sending shivers of terror coursing through her body. In a desperate bid for escape, Sara ran towards what she hoped was the exit, her heart pounding in her chest. But the basement seemed to stretch on endlessly, the rows of cars becoming a disorienting maze. She could hear her own frantic breaths, each gasp reverberating through the oppressive silence. And then, just as all hope seemed lost, a faint light appeared in the distance. Sara sprinted towards it, her every muscle burning with exhaustion and fear. The light grew brighter, casting an ethereal glow on the path ahead. With one final burst of energy, she emerged into the open air, gasping for breath. As she turned back to look at the car parking basement, the darkness seemed to swallow the light, as if the haunting spirits were reclaiming their domain. Sara vowed never to return, knowing that the horrors she had witnessed would forever haunt her dreams. The car parking basement would forever be etched in her memory as a place of bone-chilling terror, a reminder of the supernatural forces that lurk in the shadows, waiting to prey on the unwary souls who dare to venture into their domain. Years passed, but Sara could never shake off the chilling memories of that night. The car parking basement became an infamous tale among locals, whispered in hushed tones, and shared as a cautionary tale. Yet, despite the warnings, there were always those who dared to test the boundaries, drawn by the thrill of the unknown. One such individual was Jake, an adventurous soul who scoffed at the tales of the haunted basement. He believed it was all mere superstition and urban legend. Determined to prove everyone wrong, he decided to spend a night in the very same parking basement where Sara had encountered unimaginable horrors. As Jake descended the stairs, he couldn't help but feel a growing unease. The air was thick with an oppressive heaviness, as if unseen eyes were fixed upon him. He brushed off the creeping anxiety, reassuring himself that it was all in his imagination. The dim lights flickered overhead, casting elongated shadows that danced in sinister patterns. The sound of his footsteps reverberated ominously, amplifying the sense of isolation. The place seemed devoid of life, as if it existed in a realm between the living and the dead. As Jake wandered through the rows of parked cars, a chilling breeze brushed against his neck, causing him to shudder involuntarily. Goosebumps erupted on his skin, and a feeling of dread settled deep within his bones. But he pressed on, his curiosity pushing him forward. Suddenly, a distant sound echoed through the basement, barely audible at first. It was a faint whisper, carried on the wind, growing louder with each passing second. Jake strained his ears, trying to decipher the words. "Get out before it's too late," the voice seemed to say, its tone filled with urgency. Undeterred, Jake continued his exploration, convinced that he was in control of the situation. But as he rounded a corner, he came face to face with a flickering apparition. A figure, clad in tattered clothing, stood before him, its eyes hollow and devoid of life. The phantom reached out a ghostly hand as if pleading for release. Fear gripped Jake's heart, his bravado crumbling in the face of the supernatural. He turned and ran, his footsteps echoing through the desolate basement. But the labyrinthine layout seemed to conspire against him, leading him in circles, trapping him in a macabre game of hide and seek. Whispers surrounded him, growing louder and more menacing with every step. The shadows seemed to twist and contort, taking on grotesque forms that threatened to swallow him whole. Cold fingers grazed his skin, leaving behind an icy trail of terror. Desperation consumed him as he searched for an exit, his mind clouded with fear. The laughter that had haunted Sara echoed through the darkness, mocking his feeble attempts to escape. The spirits of the basement revealed in his terror, their presence growing stronger with each passing moment. But just when Jake felt all hope slipping away, a glimmer of light pierced the darkness. He raced towards it, fueled by sheer determination. As he burst into the open air, gasping for breath, he collapsed onto the ground, tears mingling with his sweat. Jake had survived, but he was forever changed. The car parking basement had imprinted itself upon his very soul, a constant reminder of the supernatural forces that lurked just beneath the surface of reality. The experience had stripped away his skepticism, leaving him with an unshakable belief in the existence of the paranormal. From that day forward, Jake dedicated himself to uncovering the truth behind the haunting of the car parking basement. He delved into research, seeking answers to the mysteries that plagued him. His journey took him to ancient texts, haunted locations, and encounters with renowned paranormal investigators. But no matter how much he learned, Jake could never fully erase the scars left by his nightmarish ordeal. The haunting of the car parking basement had left an indelible mark, a reminder that some secrets are best left undisturbed, and some places are better left unexplored. And as the tale of the basement continued to spread, the warnings grew stronger, dissuading others from tempting fate. For in the shadows of that dimly lit abyss, the spirits remained, their tormented souls forever trapped. The car parking basement would forever be a place of bone-chilling horror, where the line between the living and the dead blurred, and where those who ventured dared not return.